Everybody is interested now, I am sure, about this visit to Taiwan by the Speaker of the US Congress and the reaction of the Chinese and other global thing. And then, as usual, there is a euphoria about war cry, and is a war is going to start. And some of them are eagerly looking for a third world war. Particularly, the TV channels are all very highly enthusiastic, and Indian TV channels you don't have to talk about, because minor skirmish also they will make it into a war, and they will also claim that we are the first one to announce that the global war is starting, another thing. But objectively, we have to look at it. Some of the global channels have covered it in a much better fashion compared to many of our Indian channels. Objectively, we have to look at it. First and foremost is the Pelosi visit is also linked to the domestic US politics. And everybody knows Pelosi and Biden are not on the same page of a book. They are not even on the same book. So this is one way for Pelosi to show Biden that she is equally powerful or more powerful. There are also some people talking about, in case something happens to Biden, will Pelosi be one of those in the list? Anyhow, that's not material. But Pelosi belongs to the what you may loosely call the woke or left side of the Democratic Party. She has been a consistent critic of China for a long period of time. So, but we have to be cautious in assessing what has happened. Basically, you see, Taiwan is a separate country. China has not recognized it as a separate country. It is not even accepting it as a two system, one country type of thing. And the US has recognized it as a separate country. Many others have also recognized, but China has resisted in several fora. India has also been not recognized it as a separate country. Actually, the last time when this government took over in Taiwan, Indian MP, if I recall, this from Delhi, she actually participated it using what one can call the video mode as one of the representative, Licky. So anyhow, so this has been going on for quite a long period of time. So this is a sort of a situation where Taiwan is recognized by some of the countries, but not by all. And China doesn't want to encourage it. And over a period of time, trade delegation or UN representative going to Taiwan and other thing is not appreciated by China. But their trade relation is something very, very important. In other words, Taiwan provides a huge amount of chips for the development of the electronic component industry in China. A large number of Taiwanese companies have invested in China and developing there, and many of the activities of Chinese manufacturing are linked with Taiwan. In spite of all this, talk about China, Taiwan, and now many of the automobile companies are planning to shift to making their own chips. Currently you might know that many of the automobile waiting list is very long because of the lack of availability of this thing for the automobile industry. And 6 months, 5 months, another thing you have to wait. And if automobile industry begin to develop on their own, and then their foundries and other thing, it would alter the situation. My own hunch is by another 1 year, pre-2020 situation we will go into in terms of the requirement of the auto industry. That will also alter the Chinese requirement from Taiwan, and China-Taiwan relationship will be different. This visit by Pelosi is just to assert that Taiwan is independent and other thing. From one angle, actually, it is a provocation, not called for. There is no immediate necessity or need for US to reaffirm the independent of Taiwan or anything. It's a provocation, definitely. And China obviously is not appreciating it, even though they are telling that they will initiate action and other thing, but it is more like what is called in our Indian parlance, Nuri Kusti. Sort of, I'm going to do Kusti. In Tamil, it is called Kambu Sutrada. You do try to initiate action, but it is more posturing. It's not really in terms of getting into actual action or anything like that. And I am sure China is not enthusiastic about any war or anything due to this with Taiwan, and which in turn imply that other countries like Japan and the US will jump into that. And I'm given the global situation today, China is not very enthusiastic in asserting its military power, at least. So this provocation by Pelosi has to be taken in its own way. And one very interesting thing is India has not made any major observation about it, and I am very glad about it. It's one of the few times where self-righteously India doesn't give some talk and other thing. India can tell something like what one can call motherhood and apple pie type in the American jargon. Something like non-violence is important, friendliness is important, good friendliness is important. There is no need for India to get involved in this skirmish. And according to me, which I have been maintaining for a long period of time, having a good relationship with China is extremely critical for the coming 20-30 years for India, because it's an Asian century. An Asian century has to be Chinese and Indian century. India is a elder brother, even though economically India is not an elder brother, but spiritually, culturally, and civilizationally, India is an elder brother. And China accepts that and recognizes that. And there is a need for us to have good relationship with China. No need to provoke them on something which is not of any benefit or any interest to us. At least in the case of Tibet, it's a border situation between us two. But Taiwan is not in any way coming in the way, unless we want to just needle China, and that cannot be a foreign policy of India. And containing China is the most stupidest thing anyone can think of. China with 18 trillion GDP, and US with 22 trillion, and in another 5 years, China will exceed US, and half of the global manufacturing is in China today, not in terms of GDP. Actual manufacturing activity, more than 50%, 52% is in China, and China has got a huge foreign exchange reserves running into 5-6 trillion. Whereas India is having something like half a trillion or something. And they are in 20 trillion range, and we are in 3 trillion, and there is no comparison, actually. So it is required for us to understand where we stand. And it's also required for us to leverage on cultural, civilizational relationship with China, and how the current century can be Asian century, with India and China forming a collaborative and cooperative axis. So this type of provocation by US, we should not take it very seriously, because US is a country which is in a declining power. It knows about it, and it's not going to be of any benefit to any country. The way they left Afghanistan, that the way they left, they claimed that in Iraq there is a chemical weapons and other thing. All these Washington Post, New York Times, and Economist wrote pompous articles. They couldn't even find one bottle of hydrochloric acid, leave alone chemical weapons. And then they have left that country in a mess. So wherever US feels its interest, then it will take to all these type of activities, and it won't take it to any logical end or anything. Interest is not to bring some sort of a glorious end to any country or anything. We should be very clear, and we shouldn't fall into the trap of US in trying to provoke China or contain China. Already we are members of this 4-member group and other thing, which is not required or which is not called for. What is required for us is to have a dialogue, try to sort out our border issues with China, and then have a good relationship. That is what we should be very interested. US shenanigan or its activities did not influence us fully. Thanking you for the patient hearing. Thank you.